So thank you, Sherry, for reading Daniel chapter 8. I see a few new faces, and I just want to reassure you that a lot of the scripture that we're reading tonight, the Bible isn't this hard to interpret. So I just want to point that out. But we go through the Bible verse by verse, chapter by chapter, and we're in a part of Daniel where we're dealing with visions. And this is the same Daniel that did the lion's den, the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, the fiery furnace, or writing on the wall. But this specific chapter 7 through 12 is dealing with his visions that God gave him while he was serving in the Babylonian court. And the timeline would still be, remember, we're looking back now in his autobiography in the first 6 chapters, so we're still landing. This vision would have been between chapters 4 and 5 of Daniel itself. And what we're going to do is it's going to take us to an in-depth look at the battle between what the chapter 7 called the bear and the leopard, but what it really is the Medes and the Persians versus the Greeks that were coming up. And again, he's doing this while serving the Babylonians. You see this in verse 1 and 2. He talks about how he gets this vision of all of a sudden he's in Babylon and he's in prayer or some type of something going on, but all of a sudden he's kind of transported in a vision to standing in the capital city of Persia itself, or modern day Iran. And what's going on is he's seeing this vision before King Darius even comes in and takes over Babylon. Think about that. Before it even happens, he's seeing the next world empire who's supposed to control everything. He's seeing this in advance. So that's why it's important to understand he's standing in the capital of the next empire, even though it hasn't happened yet. He's still in Babylon. So verses 3 and 4, it talks about the Medes and Persians. It symbolizes them as a ram. And it's an interesting thing, but verse 20, the angel came to him and told him that it has to do, these are the Medes and Persians. This is what we're talking about. And the ram is described as having 2 horns, and one is higher than the other. And when we think about this, it's talking about what happened in the Mede and Persian Empire. The Medes were actually, they started out stronger than the Persians, but over time the Persian Empire grew much stronger and larger in strength as it went on. So it's talking about the longer horn is representing the Persian Empire, or King Xerxes. And it's interesting that the Lord chose this, because there's a hidden meaning behind this as well, not some mystical meaning, but the rams, I think it's very symbolic of the military style that the Persians had, because rams, when they defend their territory, they line up head to head and they butt heads together. I mean, they go right at it. They stand toe to toe. So if you think about the 1,000,000-man army that the Persians had, when they came up to do battle against somebody, they stood their ground. They came face to face with them, and they covered territory, and they grew so massive that the way it describes them, that in their battle style of standing toe to toe to someone, they became invincible. No one could even stand in their way. It's much like the British in our Revolutionary War in America. If you remember, when they came over here, they were so military advanced and they were so large in numbers. What did they do? They put on shiny red coats and they stood in a straight line and they stood out in the middle of the field, and they wanted you to come out and fight them toe to toe. It's a battle of, what they were battling in is pride. So Persia was doing the same thing. When they would come in a battle, they were standing in pride and arrogance, saying, look, you cannot take me on head to head. So when God's calling them the ram, it's talking about this, but instead they were not battling in intelligence. But verses 5 through 8, this he-goat comes along, and it's describing, in verse 21, the angel tells Daniel that this is the Greek empire that's rising, and it actually talks about it's coming from the west. And if you look on the map, that's exactly where the Greeks came from, the west, and they came into Persia to take it over. But now remember, this is 200 years. So when he's talking about Persia being the new empire, we're only probably a decade away from that happening, within a decade. But now he's prophesying something 200 years before it happens, that this Greek empire is going to actually come up and stand against Persia and be victorious. And it's talking about, if you want to translate a little bit different, the ESV says the conspicuous horn came up between its eyes. I like other versions that say it was a prominent horn, is actually how it would be a better definition to what we're describing today. And that prominent horn is actually talking about the king of Greece, is what verse 21 says, and we know that to be Alexander the Great. And the characteristic of a goat, though, is much different than a ram. Have you ever been in a goat field? Have you ever made a goat angry? Nope. Well, I will tell you my experience. If you walk into a goat field and you have one male goat who is the lead of everything, what he does, he doesn't square up with you. He waits until your back is turned, and then he will come at you head on. And he'll hit you when you're not expecting it. And that's exactly what the Persians did not expect, because the scripture says in these 5 through 8 that the goat charged at the Persians with wrath. Great wrath. And it's interesting because Alexander the Great was a very angry, not only young man, but he took that all the way into adulthood. He was the angriest person that I probably could read about in history. And it started out, the first thing that he was angry about was his father, King Philip, who was the Macedonian king. And he was a great general of his own. He was a great military expert. And we were talking with Jim yesterday on Saturday. He said, hey, if this guy had been born 100 years prior or after Alexander the Great, he would have been probably just as well known, but Alexander the Great came so close to him, we don't hear about him very much. But he was already conquering a lot of cities, and this is what was upsetting a young 13-year-old Alexander, saying, look, my dad is conquering so much, there's not going to be anything left for me to conquer. So he was getting upset and being jealous at his dad, and that's where this young Alexander started to really stand out to his dad. His father saw his abilities at a young age, and one of the things that he did as a test is he had this black horse. Let me see if I can pronounce the name correct. Bucephalus, right? Bucephalus. Jim is my Greek scholar. Bucephalus. So we had this great horse that all the generals and all the army men could not break this horse. And here's a perfect test for young Alexander. Let me give this horse to my son. And what do you think the 13-year-old Alexander did? He broke that horse. He found out really quickly. He was so intelligent, he understood that the horse was scared of his own shadow. So if you're going to ride him for the first few months to break him in, he always faced toward the sun so the horse would never see his shadow. So he broke his will, but also in might, but he also did it in intelligence. He was a great thinker, and he saw this. So King Philip saw this potential of how wise he was, and also brought in Aristotle to teach Alexander all the ways of philosophy and all these things, and just wanted him to grow up. And sitting on top of this horse, King Philip looked at his son, this 13-year-old boy, and he said, "My son, Macedonia is not worthy of you. Conquer a kingdom that is great." So he saw the potential of this young man coming up. But again, he was filled with much anger. So he took over for his dad in 336 BC because his dad was assassinated. And by that time, Alexander was about 20 years old, but he had a firm grip on Greece. He had just taken it over. He unified it. There was no defying him. And he actually struck fear into the people that he had already conquered and those he had not conquered yet. So one of the examples is the story of Thebes. So he took 30,000 slaves from that city and killed everyone else, every man, woman, and child, and leveled every building in that city. Why? Because while he was out campaigning, he heard that they were going to attempt a revolt against him. They were going to come up against him, so he wiped out all of them. So when you have that type of reputation going around town, many people are not going to stand up against you. So even those that he had not met yet were fearing him as he was coming along. So Alexander was a great genius, though, on the battlefield. He was just absolutely ruthless, and we see that in the story of Thebes and what he was capable of doing, but his intelligence was even more so. So by 331 BC, he'd already even conquered the million-man army of the Persian Empire. So it was described that the goat was so fast coming across the land that it didn't even touch the ground. So think about this. We talked about the British was kind of symbolic of the Persians, how they fought. But like the colonials in the Revolutionary War, they didn't stand toe-to-toe with their opponents. What did they do? They were rabbit hunters. They were squirrel hunters. They hid in the trees, behind the bushes, behind rocks. If you want to line all 200 of your guys out here, I'll take my 10 and just shoot you from behind the trees, and we'll win this battle really easily. So again, that's exactly what Alexander did. He said, I can't take my 35,000 troops against 1 million and win this head-to-head. So he invented the art of guerrilla warfare. He was coming at them at all angles. He would take them into the wooded areas where there were places to hide and to ambush, and he was taking them out one by one. And it only took him 3 years to conquer a million-man army with 35,000 troops. Think about what he did. Nobody before could stand up against him. But again, he was led by wrath because his dad had died, And his wrath turned strictly to the Persian Empire. Why? Because they had been meddling for 2 centuries in the things of Athens and Greece. Saying, look, every time we try to do something, you guys get involved with it, and you don't have any right to us. So all his wrath, all of his rage went right toward them, and he took it out on them. But also, so he did face a 1 million-man army, but before this battle happened, Xerxes had a 2 million-man army. So God got involved with this first and said, I control everything. I put who's in power, and I take those out of power that I deem necessary. So Xerxes was having this big military event, and he put 1 million men on ships and sent them out to sea. And he had this perfect plan of attack. And in the middle of the night, a storm came up. And every ship in his armada, every man died that night. So the 2 million-man army went down to 1 million before they faced Alexander the Great. So again, God establishes man's plans and his past. I am the one who takes all these into control. So by verse 8 in this chapter, Alexander had already conquered the known world. He become great is what the goat was described as. He became great. But when the goat became great, it says he was broken. So here's the hidden things about Alexander that we don't know. Alexander the Great was a huge binge drinker. Now I'm not talking about he got drunk. I'm talking about he drank from sun up until sundown. He consumed alcohol on a regular basis. He drank himself into an early death by the age of 33. So he conquered everything. But the story goes that he was kind of already dying of alcohol poisoning. It already ran his system. But after his last conquest, he was not as healthy as he was when he was 20. But after his last conquest, he was known for throwing big parties for his generals for all these victories. And what happened was he got so drunk that he decided to walk home after the party in the rain. And when he got home, he didn't change his clothes, so he fell asleep for probably the next day in cold, wet clothes. So back then, there's not much medical help, so he caught pneumonia, and then 3 days later, he died at the age of 33. And what a complete picture of how empty the pursuit for stuff or things is in man's life. Here's a man who gained the entire world, but ended up with nothing apart from God. He didn't have anything without him. So even Alexander the Great, though, this is what I think about when I look for Jesus in these scriptures and these passages about crazy things, about what's about to happen, but it's so accurate that if you think about who he is, he was an alcoholic, he was a murderer, he was enraged all the time, but yet God still reached out to him. He still had his encounter where he had to meet God one-on-one. So after defeating the mighty Xerxes of the Persian Empire, he was on his way south and he leveled Gaza. It didn't even stand in its way, and he was headed toward Jerusalem. And the priests heard about him, and they knew he was coming. And what they did is they had this procession. They went out in a big parade, and they met him outside the city. And what do you think they showed him? The book of Daniel. We knew you were coming. We knew exactly who you were. And so when they presented it, he believed what he read to be himself. It was so accurate. From the rage to the events of when it happened and how he won the victory, he said, this is me. So what did he do? He saw himself in Scripture, so he recognized there's something about your God that's very important. And he spared Jerusalem. He didn't even touch it. Now think about that. That's not his style. He would wipe people out. And Jerusalem had a huge reputation of many victories in the past, so they were somebody who would have challenged him. But he had mercy on them because of this, because the Word of God has power to even stop the mightiest warrior in his tracks. If you think about that, they shared the Word of God with him. And even though God longed to fill that ever-expanding void in Alexander, as far as we know, he never turned to God. He never did. He only respected him. Saying, look, here's another authority that I respect. And it just made me think about tonight, what enemy is at our door tonight that we need to be speaking the word to? What could it be? Could it be depression? Could it be a family member? Could be a doubt? Could be a husband, a wife. It could be divorce. It could be bankruptcy. It could be all these things. But where do we need to speak the word into these things and make a difference and stop the enemy's attack in our life? In verse 8, though, it goes on to say, this crazy event where 4 more horns came out of the goat. It came forth. But it also tells us in verse 22, the angel revealed what was going on with the goat. But after his death, after Alexander died, his sons tried to take over the kingdom, but they were just not strong enough. It just, they didn't have the ability that that Alexander had. So strength-wise, his 4 generals took over the land and said, you know what, this is so much land, none of us have the ability to govern it on our own. Let's split it up and then we'll divide everything that Alexander conquered into 4 areas. And they took it over and they divided it with them. And then we just see in verse 9, it says, out of these 4, another additional little horn came up out of the 4 horns. Now, do you remember chapter 7? There was a little horn that came up. Do you guys remember that? So this is not the same horn that Daniel's talking about in chapter 7. Remember, that came after the 4th beast. So that little horn it's talking about, it's representing the leader of the world that's in power right before Jesus returns. So it's just a totally different thing. But here, this little horn is talking about a man who has already ruled. He's already been in power. But what he's doing is he's mirroring that end-time ruler that we talked about in Daniel 7, and that his secret desire is to what? To make himself to be God. He wants himself to be God. So this man, though, he came out of the 4 generals' families. So one of the families that had the biggest territory to the east part of the country, he just came out of that, and he was one of the descendants. But his name was, Jim, go ahead.
Antiochus Epiphanes.
Antiochus Epiphanes. He's my Greek guy. So what do you think that name means? God manifested. So think about the name that he chose for himself. God manifested. So that should tell you something about this guy right off the bat. But he was just a madman who terrorized the Jews for 6 years. He knew this story. He knew everything. But yet he knew that they were this group that stood against him. If he was going to be God manifested, he would have to what? Come against the true living God and face him. He had to do that. So claiming to be God, what do you think he first did? He put a statue in the temple. What's that mirroring? The leader in the end times, what's going to happen? He's going to create an image of himself in the temple. So the Jews, they revolted against this. They didn't, you can't come here and do this. And on day 1, he kills 40,000 Jews. And almost up to 1 million in the months coming after that. He was a crazy man. Not only driven by just anger like Alexander, but he was driven by pure evil for evil's sake. That's who he was. And it's just like the end times where it talks about the leaders, they call him the Antichrist in Scripture. But what's he going to do? If you don't follow him, what's going to happen? You will be killed. That's the bottom line. This guy even did something even more just horrific. He took, and on the altar of God himself, we know the Jews think what? Pigs are what? Unclean animals. They don't belong there. Well, he decides to sacrifice the pig on the altar of God and then split the blood all over the temple. So you can imagine, though, how the people were feeling. But back on day 1, when he first took over this terrible persecution, one man refused to bow to him. And he laid down his life. His name was Matthias. And Matthias had 5 sons. The oldest name was Judah. So out of that act of I will not bow to you because I serve the one true God, the 5 sons led a revolt and they drove Antiochus out of Jerusalem, and they called that the Maccabean Revolt. But basically what they did is they drove him out and they rededicated and cleaned the temple and cleaned it back up so that he could, so it would be rightfully God again. But how do we know that this is talking about this guy? And you'll see some wacky numbers come out of this, and people will try to say this is when the world will end. I think 2025 is where they try to get this scripture, and they try to say, hey, look, this is talking about Jesus, when he's going to come back. So we know the date he's coming back. But what did we learn last week? No one knows the day or the hour. Okay, he didn't make it that easy. But look at this. So Antiochus, he killed Matthias in Jerusalem on September 6, 171 BC, and he was driven out of Jerusalem on December 25th, 165 BC, exactly 2,300 days later. How accurate is that to Scripture? This is how God has painted this picture. This is why skeptics hate the book of Daniel. They won't even mess with it anymore because it's so frustrating how accurate it is. And that's what Alexander, even himself, he read about these events. That's what stopped him in his tracks, but so that he didn't destroy Jerusalem. But he read about all these things coming up and knew about them before they even happened. That's just how great our God is. But what do we do with all this? All this knowledge that God is showing us that here's the world powers, here's what they look like and what they do. And he's offering something more. But if we focus too much on these chapters, this is what can happen to us. So skip all the way down to verse 27. Let's read this one again out loud. It just talks about, and I, Daniel, was overcome and lay sick for days. Now think about this. He knows that God has said it, so what's going to happen? This is going to happen. This is going to happen to his people. So it disturbed him. But then he says, then I rose and went about the king's business. But I was appalled by the vision and did not understand it. So again, it was just too much, just like chapter 7, it was too much for Daniel's physical body, his mental ability to even process. But what I think is so profound is what he says here, then I arose and went about the king's business. Now, just practically where we're at in the scripture, he's just talking about, I went back to work for the court of Babylon, to the king. I went back about what I was doing. But I see a deeper meaning here for us today, that even in the face of an evil world, we need to be about our king's business. That's why we're here. That's why we're in this. And I really want to, with all these facts, with all these things, we can sit here and we can say, I don't know if God's real or not. He's painted us a beautiful picture with facts, with miracles, with signs, with wonders, everything. He's touched every area to say, look, I am here, I am real, I am calling you to be with me. And we have to ask, do we really believe Him? Do we as believers, if you're already saved, do we really understand that there is work to do for God now? It's now. Do we really believe time is precious, that it's so short that we can't be concerned with the worldview that Alexander had, that I need more stuff, I need to conquer more, I need more things in my life, saying to ourselves, if I only could attain this, then if I can get more stuff, I won't be as depressed, or I won't be angry anymore, I won't treat my spouse that way, I won't treat my kids that way anymore. I can deal with all these things if I had this. What is that? That's just out and out deceit. It's just empty lies. And my challenge to you guys tonight, which king do you want to serve? The king of man, like Alexander the Great and his rule? Or do we really want to follow Jesus? And that's what I pulled out of this is, how does this text really point us to Christ? Well, you have to realize, who do you want to serve? Do you want to serve man's ways? Or do you want to serve God's ways? So I want to look at these two kings side by side. So you have Alexander the Great versus the greatest, which is Jesus. So Alexander, he tried to be a god and flex his power to us. That's who he tried to set himself up. What did Jesus do? Jesus was God, but he humbled himself and became what? He became a man. To show us what? For God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son. He showed us how much he loved us by humbling himself to become a man. So Alexander, he died and was buried in a golden casket in Alexandria, where he still is there today. Think about that. Jesus died and was placed in an empty, borrowed tomb, much different than the golden casket that Alexander was buried in. And he rose, and that tomb is still empty today. That's one of the greatest. When people talk about what is one of the things that really, how do you believe that Jesus rose from the dead? Well, when Caesar puts his impression on the tomb and he seals it and says, look, if anybody opens this, you will die. And he puts a guard to it. It wasn't some drunkard or someone who was sitting there. These guys knew they were guarding the tomb for their lives. And these 12 guys that we call the disciples who ran away from an old lady and a child in the garden are not the ones who went in and subdued the Romans and then took him. It's one of the greatest proofs to me that the empty tomb, that seal was broken, that stone was rolled away, and there's no finding him. No finding him. Alexander the Great's version of being God, he took the blood of many to enslave them. Millions of people died brutally and viciously under him. Jesus gave his blood to what? Set the captive free. He gave his own. Alexander was in competition with his father to what? Conquer land. That's all I want. I want more stuff and more stuff. But Jesus was submitted to his Father to do what? To conquer our hearts. That's what he was after. So in chapter 7, we saw these empires as what? Huge, graphic, wild beasts. He described them as the bear and the leopard and the lion and all these things, these vicious beasts that do what? They will devour you if you get too close. If you watch the National Geographic Channel, you'll see that firsthand. But in chapter 8, I like what he does, is a goat and a ram, are they really that vicious looking? No. They're actually domesticated. We have them all around. But giving them the chance, what will they do? They will fight for the territory every single time. It doesn't matter how civilized or how social man gets, or how accepting we get, or how acknowledging of all things that we get. The underlying thing is their heart is still as black as it was in whatever form they look like outwardly. So even as a domesticated look, they're still what? Viciously killing each other. God was only interested in fighting one thing. And he battled and conquered death, hell, the grave, and Satan himself to what? Do what? To win us back who he rightfully owns anyways. He could do whatever he wants, but he wanted to win us back. So tonight, my challenge to you is we have to be like Daniel. We have to say to ourselves, we need to be about the king's business. But the question for us all that we have to answer when we look at this and answer today is, who is our king? Who are we going to follow? Are we going to do things the same way with the same results year and year and year after year? That's why a lot of schools and things, they don't talk about history much anymore, because they don't think you can learn anything from it. But if you actually look at history, it's about a 400 to 500 year process. It repeats itself every single time. And guess what? We're in the 400th year again, where we're about to make the same mistakes that every forefather that we had did. We're doing it again, the same foolishness. So who is your king? Well, I want my answer to be, mine is Jesus. And I think of Joshua 24:15 when he stood up and he said, you know what? I have to go into the promised land. Whether you go with me or not, he said this great statement. You'll see it as door knockers and cups. But if you really understand what it means, it's more than just a bumper sticker verse. He says, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. That's where we're going. That's a decision that we have to make. Are we all in or not? And I don't know where you're at. Some of you may still be in that decision. I just need to follow him as Savior first. I haven't even made that choice yet. Well, if you haven't, you're in the right place. And there's some of us, including myself, in areas. There's some of us as followers of Jesus. We're already saved, but there's other areas that we need to submit to him and say, look, you are Lord and Savior in my life in every area. Give me the ability to serve you in here. I realize it. I see it. That's where we're at. Will we choose to follow him? Let's pray.